I just got a burst of energy when I came in here, when all these young, brilliant students would come up and shake my hand and ask me questions and take pictures, because it gives me so much hope for the future of North Carolina. I just met a scholarship winner at Chapel Hill from New Mexico, and another one from Wilmington at my table, and then all these other brilliant students here. What we're talking about is really preparing the state for the next generation. That's why we have to be innovative, so they have as good or even a better quality of life and opportunity to fulfill their potential than any of us have had during the past 40 or 50 years. And it is such an honor to be here, because what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about some of the things that I think we need to do and we're already working on together as a team with the chancellors here from NC State and Carolina. We've become very close friends and close colleagues in our efforts. Because to be competitive, it's not just being competitive with our neighbors next door, it's being competitive with the rest of the world. In fact, the Secretary John Scavarla and I went to Europe just 2 weeks ago to recruit, hopefully, some new businesses into North Carolina. And let me tell you, the people before me coming were the governors of Louisiana and South Carolina and Texas. And I heard coming up next are leaders from other countries competing against us. So it's just not other states we're competing against, it's other countries. And one thing that I'm going to need your help on, especially during the next 2 or 3 weeks, is John Scavarla and I, the Commerce Secretary, are pushing a new package called NC Competes, a clear outline of how we're going to recruit and retain and grow new industries in North Carolina. And this NC Compete package is really focusing on innovation, entrepreneurs, manufacturing. So our state continues to be a state that builds things, that makes things, that grows things, that produces things, and that innovate things and invents things. And that's how we're going to beat the competition, not only in the Southeast, but the rest of the United States, the rest of the world. And this endeavor to share ideas and on how we're going to beat the competition, now we need to implement those things. Now, one idea that we've been talking about for the past year with the chancellors of state and Carolina and A&T and others is to have North Carolina be a part of what we call the Innovation Triangle, the National Innovation Triangle. You know, everyone talks about how all the innovation occurs in the Silicon Valley or in Boston. There's a lot of money and synergy around Stanford University in the Silicon Valley. In Boston, of course, you have a lot of energy around MIT and Harvard. Well, think what we have right here in North Carolina. Why can't we be the third vertex of that innovation triangle? What you're doing, Chancellor, at NC State, and you're forming alliances between sciences and engineering. Science at Carolina, engineering at State. That's like the alliance between Harvard and MIT. You have to have that alliance between engineering and sciences and the humanities in order to have that innovation for the future. And that's what we're working on right now, is how can North Carolina be the third vertex of that innovation triangle? And I might add, we're not just talking about public universities. We have some great private universities, from Wake Forest to Duke to Catawba College, where I went. But think of the research that they're doing right now, in which we can form this brain trust among our public and private universities. I've stressed very hard to the Board of Trustees, let's don't segregate our private universities and put them in one silo and our public universities in another. There's great synergies between the two where we can learn from each other, invent together, and commercialize together. And that's exactly what these two chancellors to my right and Chancellor Fold at this table are doing right now. We're not thinking of including Duke University of being an out-of-state school. They're right here, and we need to take advantage of the talent from Duke as we are at other schools throughout North Carolina. And I'm doing that as governor. Now, there is some areas that we need to do better at, however. And let me just mention several that we've talked to the Board of Trustees just several weeks ago. One is, and I know you've talked about this already, but we as a state and our universities must convert more research into products and services for the marketplace. We can accept all the federal grants we like, but if we don't convert that into actual commercialization and the patent, then that research just sits on a shelf when we create no additional jobs or bring new products to the table here in North Carolina. We must have our education system also embrace the innovation economy, and we must also use innovation and technology to make state government as efficient as easy as possible. Our biggest weakness, frankly, in North Carolina right now is getting venture capital. And we're also I'm going to be talking in just a few minutes one way to get more capital, because we have all these young people, which are different than when I was graduating from school in 1978. Our typical career path was to join a corporation and get a job which we thought would be for a lifetime. Well, the new generation is now going, I'm going to start up my own company. But they need that seed money to do just that. And we need to reward instead of punish those who want to have a new idea, invest in that idea, both sweat equity and actual finances. And that's where I think we're at the lower spectrum when competing against other areas of the innovation triangle that North Carolina has to be a part of. Silicon Valley, Boston, North Carolina. We have a competitive edge over these other states, with better quality of life, lower cost, and great consolidation of universities that can make this happen, and an incredible workforce. That's where we'll have the competitive advantage. But we need to find the venture capital. Now, let me also talk to you about the Innovation and Jobs program, which we're attempting to implement. It's designed to convert more of our research dollars into products and services that are actually patented and introduced into the marketplace. This is not a new concept in North Carolina. Look at companies like SAS and Cree and Red Hat, all started right here and grown right here as a North Carolina product. And this is good. This task force is including people from both the public and private universities, and they are forwarding several recommendations. And these recommendations include enhancing the university collaboration with the private sector, increasing the commercial application, developing innovation research funding sources, establishing a venture capital multiple fund, and harnessing and attracting innovative leadership for new startups. One of our other weaknesses is we've got to find the old guys in my age group and women in my age group who have experience in starting up and maintaining and sustaining a company. We need to get that wisdom and experience to help the next 24-year-old, 25-year-old who starts up a business, and identify that group of veteran business leaders who can help a startup company with veteran advice, veteran expertise, and when they can, their own money. And that's what's going to make us more competitive. Another thing that we'll be introducing to the legislature, hopefully within just the next 2 weeks, with Secretary John Scavarla is going to be heading this up, and that is our Commerce Department wants to introduce a concept called crowdfunding. And this is becoming a new source of revenue, especially for the 20 to 35-year-old who wants to start up a concept or a new idea. In fact, just yesterday, the Wall Street Journal had a major front page article on crowdfunding, something that's not accessible in North Carolina at this point in time. Crowdfunding allows entrepreneurs with startups or an early state business to raise capital in small increments from small, non-credited investors. And in this legislation, we are going to call PACES, Provide Access to Capital for Entrepreneurs and Small Business. It would allow an entrepreneur or small business person to raise up to $2 million a year in $2,000 increments. Again, this is one of the major complaints I got as mayor, and I've heard it as governor, from 25 and 26-year-old brilliant people coming out of school with an idea, and they need $100,000 or $50,000 or even $25,000 to start their business, and they're still trying to pay off student debt. I want them to raise the money right here in North Carolina, not be forced to move to Boston or the Silicon Valley. Let's raise it right here in these increments as opposed to always having to look out for the larger venture capital firms. Crowdsourcing is a funding source we will need for small businesses, which right now small businesses employ 80% of the working people here in North Carolina. Crowdfunding levels the playing field for small businesses that don't have the access to the banking capital or to the venture capital firms. Let's get this bill passed. And this is going to put us at a competitive level playing field with other states that do allow crowdfunding at this point in time. Now, of course, education, as I've already mentioned several chancellors here, is another important part of this being part of the national research triangle, the innovation triangle. Not the research triangle, that's a part of the innovation triangle. This includes from Winston-Salem, where we have Wake Forest, to Charlotte, where we have UNC Charlotte, to East Carolina, where we have great medical research being done right now, and of course in this area, in the triangle, where we have Duke, Carolina, and NC State. And North Carolina Central also is getting some federal grants for research. It's a combination of these efforts where we must take advantage of the incredible diversity of our educational institutions. We also need to provide broadbanding to schools with dedicated fiber running to every K through 12 school in the state. And right now I've had meetings in D.C. along with my IT head, Chris Estes. We've met with the FCC chairman to allow North Carolina to use broadband funding to provide Wi-Fi access to every school in North Carolina. We want to be the trial test for the rest of the nation, and we're lobbying hard at that opportunity right now with the FCC. I think we're one vote short, and we're working hard on that next vote to make it happen. We want to be a model for other states in providing technology that supports digital learning on mobile devices. Think of that. It'll bring the rich and poor, rural and urban, everyone together on an equal level playing field through technology. It's got the opportunity to unite us all regardless of where we come from or what our income level or what our ethnic background is. It's the great equalizer, and we've got to provide that to everyone, to give everyone that opportunity, the best teachers, the best professors, and the best education that's available online across the world, not just this country. Now, one of our great challenges is getting qualified teachers and maintaining qualified teachers. We've made some major steps for base pay. We're trying to make some more positive steps to help our teachers in North Carolina. But let me tell you what else we need to do. We need to encourage more people with experience coming in from out of states or people who are currently working for corporations who might say, you know, I want a career change. Maybe I've made enough money. Maybe I'm bored with my corporate work. I just want to change in my purpose, and I want to become a teacher. Well, let me tell you right now, to become a teacher in North Carolina, even if you have the subject matter expertise, is extremely difficult. Even if you have a teaching degree from another state, we make it very hard to teach in North Carolina. Let me give you an example. Eric Gucan, and I mentioned this in my State of the State speech. I want Eric Gucan to stand up. He's my education advisor. I don't have the notes in front of me, but I'm going to give you as the example of this. He taught in the Bronx in New York for 2 years for Teach for America. He got his master's degree in education from Harvard. He moved to North Carolina. It took him 18 months to get his teaching certification in North Carolina once he moved here. That's inexcusable. He could have stepped right into a classroom. He already proven he had the skills, he had the competency, he had the Harvard master's degree, which we're still trying to get a little bit of that out of him, but and he taught in the Bronx, Teach for America, and yet we made him go through an education bureaucratic process to teach in North Carolina schools. Wonder if we do the same things to someone who's working for SAS. And right now, more than anything else, we're looking for math and science teachers. And yet, if someone from SAS wanted to become a teacher, we would put that person through 3 to 4 years of educational efforts when, in fact, they already have the subject matter expertise. Why don't we determine what skills they already have, what skills they need, and speed up that process right here in North Carolina? If we do that, we help fill our teacher vacancies, we improve the skill set in our teachers, and we become more competitive with the rest of the nation. We have to do that now. We have to be more flexible and cut through the educational bureaucracy and barriers that stop at times qualified talent to become teachers in North Carolina. Now, there are a couple of other things I want to briefly talk about, and that is the community colleges in addition to our universities. Just last week, I visited Wilson County, An employer from Bridgetown told me that they had 20 openings for high-tech jobs that paid $65,000 a year. And right now they cannot find the 20 people to fill those jobs in Wilson County. Not more than an hour. Governor Hunt, that's your old stomping grounds. 20 openings at $65,000 a year. By the way, that's a larger salary than most law school graduates are getting, much less a job that most law school graduates are getting right now. $65,000 a year, and they cannot find the people to fill those jobs. We still have a skills gap in North Carolina as we do in this nation. And if we cannot find the skilled people to run this complex technology and innovation, the companies will move elsewhere. And this has got to be a continued challenge for both our universities, our community colleges, and our K through 12 education. We've got to adapt our education to what the marketplace needs in order for us to continue to grow economically and to continue to have a vibrant economy in all parts of our state. That is so important. I went to Catawba Valley Community College several months ago, and they've created a Catawba Valley Furniture Academy, a program which produces more highly skilled workers in about half the time of the college's associate degree program. People are ready to get the work. Let's teach them these skills as quick as possible. And if that means getting the skills through summertime or working at night or getting education at night, let's adapt our schedule to what the people need at this point in time, not based upon what we need, but what our customers need at this point in time. We're having incredible success. Last week I was Fayetteville Tech Community College, which just partnered with an auto repair and insurance industry to open the Collision Repair and Refinishing Technology Center. And let me tell you, this was the most innovative technology I've ever seen. Cars are getting away from steel. They're going to aluminum, and it requires a whole new complex type of tools and equipment. The 50-year-olds like myself don't know how to do it. They're having to go to retraining to adapt to this innovation technology. The new 21 and 22-year-old graduates, we need to encourage them to get into these businesses. It pays well. We have the job openings, and we need to adapt our education curriculum to make it happen as quick as possible. And I want to congratulate the Fayetteville Tech Community College for making it happen just in the past year. They bought an old building, reconverted it, and got it going. And the kids that are graduating today, in addition to the older adults my age, are immediately getting jobs and helping feed the family and using the innovative tools and equipment that often, hopefully, are invented right here in North Carolina. I want to briefly also mention that right now I have a main issue as governor regarding our IT efforts. Right now, 74% of information technology state projects are either behind schedule or over budget. 74%. We've discovered that obvious opportunities to pool the purchasing powers of several agencies are often bypassed or not considered. Right now in state government, we have over 40 data centers with 1,000 different computer systems in state government. We have 1,000 different computer systems in state government. That is not an example of efficiency, and it's not an example of innovation. We need to become more efficient and transfer those savings to research, design, and innovation. And that's what we're attempting to do at this point in time. In fact, during my State of the State address, I've recommended that we consolidate all IT functions so we can improve the efficiencies, see what types of innovation in IT is available, and have it centralized and clearly communicated before we purchase a piece of equipment. You know what we're doing different in the last 2 years in state government? This might sound not too innovative. We're actually going to now try it out before we buy it. How's that for a change? We were not testing equipment before we buy it. Part of it was because it was against ethics to try out equipment for free before we buy it. We're now testing it all in one location. The competitors get to try it out on a level playing field. We see what works best, and we also make sure it communicates with existing systems that we already have. That's a basic common sense tool to implement but it had not been implemented up until the last year, and I'm very, very proud of that. But we're making changes to continue to save money and be more efficient and be innovative. We're getting recognized nationally for this effort, but I do want to close by saying it's not just about innovation. If we do not have the infrastructure in the state to support the economic growth and this innovation, we're not going to compete with South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, or the rest of the world. We've got to continue to invest in infrastructure. And one thing I'm going to need your help on during the next weeks is not only implement NC Competes, so I have a package of tools available to recruit and retain and grow new industry. I also need to make sure that we protect and stabilize the existing revenue sources that we have to pay for new infrastructure and needed infrastructure throughout the state of North Carolina. Secretary of State, Secretary of Transportation Tony Tater right now has developed a wonderful plan to connect our universities with the economic centers, to connect our small towns with the economic centers, to connect our economic centers with the ports, both airports and our water ports, across state lines. If we do not have this connectivity, both in transportation and communications, we will not compete successfully. And our plan has to be a 25 to 50-year plan. And I'm going to be working hard with the state legislature to ensure that we have a solid revenue source to pay for the future infrastructure that's needed in this state. One thing I've learned as governor is when working with IT, my IT person, this is talking to a person who took Fortran in 1978, and my computer technology acumen is very low. But I keep hearing about the cloud. And we send things up in the cloud, and there's a lot more ways that we can be more efficient in using the cloud in state government, IT. But there's one cloud that we don't have, and that's a cloud with some unlimited funds that money just drops out from the sky to pay for our infrastructure, to pay for our universities, or to pay for our communication needs. So we need to be more efficient. We need to be innovative in how to raise money and how to be make sure that everyone's paying their fair share. But more than anything, we've got to show the vision of what North Carolina is going to look like in the next 25 years regarding education, transportation, and communications. And I'm looking forward to work with all of you to make that happen so we will beat the competition and so the next generation will have a great quality of life and an opportunity to fulfill their potential right here in North Carolina. Thank you, and God bless each one of you.